I travel for work, mostly long-haul trucking, sometimes 2 weeks on the road without seeing home. You get used to living out of gas stations and cheap motels, but what happened last October outside of Flagstaff, Arizona, that was different. That wasn't just another roadside night. That was something I still can't explain. It was a long stretch, 13 hours straight from Amarillo, and I was dead tired. My GPS was acting glitchy, probably from the storm moving in, and I just wanted a place to crash. Around 11:40 p.m., I spotted a flickering neon sign off the highway. Moonlight Pines Motel. Half the letters were burned out, and there were no cars in the lot. But at that point, I didn't care. I pulled in. The building looked straight out of the 60s, chipped paint, buzzing fluorescent lights, and an office that smelled like old coffee and mothballs. A short, pale woman with stringy gray hair was behind the counter. She didn't smile. "You're lucky," she said as I walked in. "One room left." I gave a tired nod, already half asleep. "Anything's fine." She slid a key across the counter. An actual key, not a card. Brass, scratched up, with a large wooden tag that read, Room 7. As I turned to go, she spoke again, this time, quieter. "One thing," she said. "Don't look at Room 6. I paused and looked back, confused. "What do you mean?" "Just don't. Keep your head down. Curtains are always closed anyway. If you hear anything, ignore it." I stared at her, waiting for a grin, like maybe it was some kind of local joke. But she just looked at me, dead serious. I should have walked out right then, but I didn't. Room 7 was just 2 doors down. Room 6 was right beside it, and yeah, the curtains were drawn tight, and the window looked like it hadn't been cleaned in years. I did what she said, kept my head down, shoved open the creaky door to my room, and locked it behind me. The room was fine. Musty carpet, rattling AC unit, one flickering bedside lamp. I tossed my bag on the bed and collapsed without bothering to undress. I woke up around 3:12 a.m. Something had pulled me from sleep. Not a sound, not a nightmare. It was more like a presence, like someone standing too close. I sat up and listened. The room was silent, but then I heard it, faintly behind the wall, a soft scratching sound, like long fingernails against plaster. It was coming from room 6. I froze. The scratching stopped. For a full minute, there was silence. Then, tap, tap, tap. 3 slow knocks, right on the other side of the wall, deliberate, like it knew I was awake. I stood up slowly, not even realizing I was holding my breath. I wanted to look, just peek through the blinds and see if there was anyone outside. But her voice echoed in my head. "Don't look at room 6. I sat back down and waited. Then I heard it. Whispering, not words, not a language, just breathy sounds, like someone muttering to themselves, just inches from the wall. That's when I did something really stupid. I turned off the lamp, crept to the window, and pulled the curtain back, just a sliver. Room 6's curtains were open, just enough to see that something, was standing behind them. A pale face. Not human. Too long. The eyes. God, the eyes were just black. No whites. Just wide and staring directly at me. I jumped back so hard I nearly knocked the lamp over. My heart was thundering in my chest. And then the whispering stopped. I didn't sleep again that night. The next morning, I waited until the sun was fully up before stepping outside. I had barely slept, and my nerves were shot. I wanted to believe that what I saw, that face, was some kind of dream. sleep deprivation, a trick of the dark. But when I walked out into the crisp morning air, my eyes went straight to room 6. The curtains were shut again, tighter this time, like someone knew they'd been seen. I grabbed my duffel and made my way to the office to drop off the key. The woman was there, sipping coffee from a mug that said, "Best grandma ever," like the night before had never happened. "You looked," she said before I could say a word. I froze. "I told you not to. But they always look. Eventually." I stared at her, my skin crawling. "What was in that room?" She didn't answer right away. Just looked down into her coffee like she was debating whether to speak. Then, in a low voice, she said, "It started in '94. Couple stayed in room 6, young, newlyweds. She woke up screaming, said her husband had changed, said it wasn't him anymore. He disappeared that night, never checked out. Since then, people say things, follow them home if they stare too long. Or worse, they don't go home at all." I asked her why she didn't just shut the room down. She looked me dead in the eyes. "You think it's in the room? Number it's attached to it, like a wound that won't close. You shut the door, and it finds another way out. At least this way, we can warn people." She slid a business card across the counter. "If you start hearing it again, call me." I left. I told myself it was just a bad night, a weird old lady, and my imagination working overtime. I didn't believe in ghosts or spirits or whatever room 6 was supposed to be. But then the sounds came back. Not the first night, not even the second. But 3 days later, while I was back in Oregon, parked at a rest stop in my rig, I heard it again. Tap, tap, tap. 3 slow knocks on the side of my cab. There was no one there. After that, it started happening more. I'd hear whispers from the sleeper berth behind me when I was driving alone. My GPS would randomly direct me off course, always toward empty stretches of highway. And worst of all, sometimes I'd catch a glimpse of that face, in reflections, in side mirrors, in windows of roadside diners, always watching. I stopped sleeping properly, stopped eating right. I even started avoiding night shifts. But then it got worse. 2 weeks later, I was parked behind a diner in Nevada, middle of the night, sky full of stars, engine off. I was trying to grab a few hours of rest. I had the windows cracked slightly just for air. That's when I heard it, whispering, right outside the truck. Then, "I saw you, clear as day." A voice, rasping and wrong, like someone trying to mimic human speech, but not quite getting it. I sat up, frozen. My breath fogged up the glass as I stared into the side mirror. And there it was, that same face, pale, stretched, with those black, empty eyes. I started the engine and peeled out of there without a second thought. I tried calling the motel, tried using the number on the card she gave me, disconnected. I drove 400 miles out of my way just to get back to that place. But when I pulled into the lot, the motel was gone. I don't mean abandoned. I mean gone. Just a slab of cracked concrete and weeds, like it had never been there. I sat there in my truck for what felt like an hour, staring at the empty lot. No sign, no office, no building, just a stretch of overgrown pavement and a broken streetlight swaying in the wind. I kept asking myself, was it ever real? I retraced my route, checked my GPS logs, even pulled up satellite images. Nothing. No record of a Moonlight Pines motel anywhere near Flagstaff, or in the state of Arizona at all. My delivery logs confirmed I had stopped in that area, but there was no motel listed. just an unspecified rest period. It was like the place had wiped itself clean. But something followed me out. Back home, I thought I was safe. I parked the truck, stayed indoors, tried to forget, but I couldn't. I couldn't unsee that face, couldn't unhear those whispers. And then, one night, around 2 a.m., I heard it again. Tap, tap, tap. This time, it was on my bedroom window. I live on the second floor. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just stared at the wall, too afraid to look. I don't know how long I lay there, paralyzed. Eventually, the tapping stopped, but the whispers started again, not from outside, from the hallway. I grabbed my phone and turned on the camera, slowly opening the door. The hallway was dark, but my phone's light caught something on the floor. Scratches, long, deep grooves carved into the hardwood, like claws. They led to the guest bedroom. I pushed the door open. The window was wide open, curtains blowing inward, and on the floor was the same brass key I'd used at the motel, room 7. That was 6 months ago. Since then, it's gotten worse. Every night the tapping returns, always 3 slow knocks, sometimes on the window, sometimes on the closet door. Once, it was from under the bed. I've seen therapists, priests, even paranormal investigators. Some say it's psychological. Others won't even stay past sundown. But I know what it is. It's room 6. And it's looking for something. Looking for me. I've moved 4 times, changed my number, quit trucking altogether. Nothing helps. It always finds me. I don't sleep much anymore. And when I do, I dream of that motel. Not how it was, how it used to be. Whole, clean, brand new. And room 6? It's always open in the dream, waiting, inviting me back. And sometimes, when I'm awake in the dark, I think about going back, just to end it. If you ever find yourself driving down a dark Arizona highway, and you see a broken neon sign that says Moonlight Pines Motel, don't stop, don't look, and whatever you do, don't look at room 6.